In this video, we're going to go through all the patch notes and bug fixes and all the announced changes with patch 1.10. Subscribe to the Linus Wilson channel where we give you the secrets to crush Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So Ubisoft, January 13th, 2021, they came out with this explanation of the update that's coming on January 14th, 2021 for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, update 1.11, so 1.11 essentially. And so we got the patch sizes for this. The Xbox Series X and S is the biggest patch, 7.5, then 6.6, PlayStation 5, only 2 gigabytes, PlayStation 4, 2 to 3 gigabytes, and the PC is 6.5. And we're expecting these to come live at 1 CET, 7 a.m. Eastern Time, and then 4 a.m. Pacific Time. So basically, when you wake up on the 14th, if you're in the U.S., then you're probably gonna download this patch unless you turn off the internet. So what are we gonna see in this patch? We've got Ubisoft Connect achievements are here. Added in-game support for Ubisoft Connect achievements in the game. Unlock conditions for quest-related and not repeatable achievements. Achievements where unlock conditions have been met will pop when player completes new quest. Unlock conditions for countable, repeatable achievements. Achievements will pop whenever the player achievement-related action passes the unlock. Miscellaneous. The Animus Pulse will now highlight dead bodies for necessary situations only. Enemies can no longer be auto-looted using throw weapons perk. I guess you're just too far away. It seems odd. Tweaked AI detection when using disguise while dodging or while being in air. Added a reward to the Death Stranding homage. Quivers and rashes will now refill when upgrading them while they're depleted. I think they were stuck at 12 even though you upgraded it fully. White dots hinting at rations adrenaline arrow loot beyond interaction range will no longer be displayed when the player has max quantity already. Players will now be able to use the wake up at any time while in Asgard. Previously, you had to complete the first quest. Okay, did not know that. Daily quests will now reset whenever the game detects that it's not possible to continue or restart the quest. The quest may then be reactivated at the Informer. I guess the thing with the Asgard is that, Asgard is kind of like a level 90 quest. It's conceivable you can unlock. The problem is they're not very transparent about the levels of the Asgard and the Jotunheim quests. And so I could see how somebody would get really stuck on that if it was way too high a level quest. Added text-to-speech to letters found in game. Added previous to color, blind, or subtitle options. Balancing tweak damage dealt received values for the Lost Wolf boss encounter to reduce friction when playing Dranger difficulty. Reduced initial damage dealt with harpoon impalement level 1 and 2. Now that's an ability I don't think I've ever used. Improved performance and stability, game improvements. Graphics, audio automation, address various graphics issues, address various clipping issues, address various NPC animation issues, address the issue that caused dummies to jitter when with poison arrows, shake it off. Spoilers, added some electricity to Mjolnir before picking it up. Addressed an issue where war cries would repeat the loop oddly. Addressed an issue where blowing the horn and starting to move with left foot forward could sometimes make Ivar's feet glide. Addressed issues when zooming in on children with the photo mode camera would distort their face. Addressed issues where the Raven's skins could be low res. Optimized some texture on PS4. Addressed texture issues in Chichester Abbey that caused players to desync while walking over the texture. Quest World events, side activities. Addressed an issue of Legend of Beowulf where the clue marker would remain after it was investigated. Addressed issues of sticky situation where NPC would sometimes not spawn. Addressed issue where a player could get stuck fishing at Baker's Plain. Addressed issue where the fishing lesson that under circumstances prevented players from completing a world event. Addressed issue where players are stuck after pledging to Lincolnshire after returning from Vinland. Addressed an issue where players could get stuck in a boss fight. Cruel destiny. Ah yes, cruel destiny indeed, they say. Addressed an issue where some treasures would be at their location and couldn't be looted. Grantbridgeshire, Hamptonshire, Oxfordshire, and Yerveshire. Addressed an issue where players could receive an online service error when trying to save. Addressed an issue where I think I've gotten that, where you get a black screen after building the blacksmith. Addressed an issue where players would receive storming the walls after completing severing the lines. Addressed an issue in Serve the Light where Hytham would get stuck on the boat when randomly shooting arrows in the water. Addressed an issue when preventing players from interacting with settlement NPCs. Addressed an issue that prevented players from completing clues and riddles. Addressed an issue in the absence of an alderman that prevented players from completing the quest. Issue that quest objective marker was pointing the wrong destination and the devil has all the best tunes. Addressed an issue in War Weary that prevented players from completing the quest when Chaelbert was accidentally killed. Addressed an issue that prevented players from starting the Daughters of Lyrian encounter Goneril and Cordelia. I've not done that Daughters of Lyrian yet. I totally missed it, so I have to go back and find it. Addressed an issue in Blinding Fate that caused the boss to be stuck on a rock. Addressed an issue where Estrid could get stuck in Taken. Addressed an issue in Pluck the Quill where players could sometimes be unable to interact with Aelwyn. Addressed an issue in Blinding Fate that caused the boss to be stuck underground when using the dive of the Valkyrie. Addressed an issue in the Price of Wisdom that prevented players from completing the quest. Oh man, there's a lot of these bugs. They're kind of rare bugs, but there are a lot of them. Addressed an issue in Bleeding the Leech where Eric could be at the wrong location. Addressed an issue of Blood of Bonds where the players couldn't complete the quest, couldn't report back to Ranvi. Addressed an issue in The Prodigal Prince that prevented players from completing the quest. Addressed an issue that prevented players from completing the Old Cellar mystery. Addressed an issue in Rivalry for the Ages that prevented players from completing the quest. Addressed an issue in the Mari Lewd disguise that would not disappear after finishing the Gloucester arc. Everyone liked that .jpg. I don't know what they're referring to that, but obviously that Mary Lewd disguise was a real pain in the rear end, so you had to finish the Gloucester arc to get rid of it. Addressed an issue in the Road to Harmatia that prevented players from completing the quest. Addressed an issue where Nude could become stuck in a little problem. Addressed an issue that prevented players from interacting with Uba in Sons of Ragnar. Addressed an issue where Bassam was in a fight with NPCs before the start of Puppets and Prisoners. Addressed an issue in Brewing Rebellion that prevented players from force opening the door to the Longhouse in Buckingham. Addressed an issue in Bridges of Opposition that prevented players from completing the quest. Spoiler, addressed an issue in Kingkiller that prevented Ivar to reach the door in Rhodey's room. I think I did have them kind of like stuck with the Sons of Ragnar stuck at one point, but we got past it. Addressed an issue in Fiend Out of Hell that prevented players from examining one of the cows. And the world addressed various misplaced textures or objects, addressed several instances where the player could become stuck, grounded a floating boat in Vinland. Gameplay combat, addressed various NPC behavior issues, addressed issue where NPCs would sometimes return to a location they fled from that is still being raided, addressed an issue where whales would sometimes start fleeing behavior midair. I think I did see that. Addressed an issue where archery was blocked with M and K holding the shift key. I guess that's a PC issue. Addressed an issue that caused players' line of sight to be blocked using incendiary or poison traps with the Predator bow. Addressed an issue where guards would sometimes not react with hostility to watching Ivor burn members of their faction with oil jars. Never mind, moving on. Addressed an issue where NPCs can be killed by throwing corpses at them in Vinland. Oh, that's a good idea. Addressed an issue that removed Bjorn from the ship crew. Addressed an issue with the mentor set where the gear pack would sometimes activate even though 2 to 4 pieces were equipped. Addressed an issue that prevented players from controlling the Raven when Q or E buttons were assigned to one of the move actions, so that's a PC issue. Abilities, perk, and skills addressed an issue where some range special abilities could incorrectly be used with guided arrows. Addressed an issue where one NPC could not leave either side when Feign of Death was used. Addressed an issue where several abilities wouldn't work against hostile dogs. Addressed an issue where man's best friend would not unlock after completing the quest line, a little problem. Yeah, I was never able to get man's best friend to ability to work. Addressed an issue with the mentor set where the gear perks sometimes did not activate even through 2 to 4 pieces of the set were equipped. User interface HUD issues. Addressed various UI HUD issues. Addressed an issue where the arrow quantity could remain stuck at 12. That happened to me. Addressed an issue where UI language changes weren't applied during combat. Truth is, I didn't really notice with the arrow issue. The camera will now be closer to the character when browsing tattoos in the Animus store. Addressed an issue where colorblind previews would sometimes not be displayed in the menu. Addressed an issue where colorblind values were not in the order the Ancients menu. Or addressed an issue where blank box would appear in the completed quest list. Is there a completed quest list? I've never seen it. Addressed an issue where the fall damage could be negated by opening the menu right before hitting the ground. I've never tried that. They're so light on fall damage, and especially if you get the special skill for that. But that was a glitch people talked about. Addressed an issue where auto loot didn't work when an enemy was stun finished. Oh yeah, that might be true. Addressed an issue where Rakel Monastery couldn't be raided. There was one monastery that was really glitchy. Addressed an issue where some icons were missing for newly acquired god favors. Addressed an issue in game where sometimes wouldn't load correctly. Addressed an issue that caused players to receive incorrect items when purchasing Vexor front and Moon in front schemes. Addressed an issue that allowed players to acquire duplicates of the Asgard ship schemes. And then system added a respawn point just beyond the boss fight in Extended Family. Addressed an issue where prevented players from fast traveling after 1.04. Oh my goodness. Added force trigger feedback to bow shooting for Xbox, PlayStation controllers. Oh, that'll be interesting to see. And then Stadia addressed an issue that caused time on the save not to reflect local time. That happened to me on the Xbox all the time. So, wow, that's just a lot. You know, I commend Ubisoft for being so complete in talking about these things. They're so much better than the bug notes and patch notes that I found from Ghost of Tsushima. But there's been a lot of issues, but it's a big game, so I'm glad they're addressing them. And even though there's all those tons of issues, for most of them, I was not bothered by them. So hopefully that's the same for you. Let me know what issues you find in the comments section and what bugs or things that you liked were taken out in patch 1.1.1. I'm Linus Wilson. Subscribe.